Hi everyone, this is Halak again and welcome to another Java tutorial. Today I will be continuing my discussion on GUI development in Java. So let's begin. Okay, so first off, I will be creating the GUI form for it. So here it is. And I'll just call it main one handler panel. Okay, so you can give it any name, but I'll just give mine that name. Okay, so now this is the main panel, so I'm just going to name it that way. So I'm just going to create a GUI where we can actually test the listeners. Okay, so first off, I'm going to change this to a border layout. Okay, so this is a border layout, and I'm going to have one in the north. Okay, so let's rename that one north panel, so I know. And then I have one which is in the center. Okay, so center. This is where I'm going to put all the components, so I'll call it component panel. Okay, I'll get away from the reference in terms of center and all that. Okay. Now in this panel here, what I'll do is, oops, what happened there? I'm going to have a text field there. Okay, so the text field will display outputs to help us indicate what's going on or keep track of what's happening. Okay, so output text field, let's call that. Okay, so now first of all, I'm going to be creating some radio buttons. Okay, so let's do some radio buttons first. So this is, as you notice, this component panel here, okay, by default is Grid Layout Manager. So I'm going to keep it that way. Okay, so let me do another few more, and we'll get a third one here. Okay. All right, so that's what we have. Okay, and let's rename some of these buttons. Okay, so I'm going to display some fonts, so I'm just going to call this one Hello Plain font radio button. Okay, so how about that? So it's a little wordy, but it'll give us an idea. Okay, and then here, plain font. Okay. Plain font. Okay. We have it. Now the next one, I'll call this bold font radio button. Okay, and of course down here I just in the text maybe just bold font. And the third button, oops. The third button, this will be italic. And this will be italic. Let me capitalize that. Okay. Have some consistency there. Okay, so there we go. We have that. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to also demonstrate a scroll list. Okay, or better yet, let me do a few check boxes. Okay, so I'll do a few check boxes. Okay, and with the checkbox, again, I'll adopt the same theme. Okay, so the first one, I'll just have bold checkbox. Okay, so I'm going to just to distinguish. There it is. Okay, and then the next one, call this one italic. checkbox. Okay. Italic checkbox. Okay, so that's what we have right now. Okay. I'll also have a JCombo. Let me demonstrate JCombo list as well. Okay, so here we have JCombo list. Okay, I'm just randomly dragging components on here. So this one will be, what should I display? How about some color? Okay, so color combo box. I call it that. Okay, so all right. Now I'll get back to the combo box afterwards. Okay, so I'm gonna make this. I'm gonna make sure that I show this. Okay, all right. So I'll get back to this one. All right. So far we have. This is what we have. Oh, I may have mistakenly put a custom, which is what I don't want. Oh, there it is. All right, I don't want custom create this. I want it by default. Okay, so let me just delete this. Okay, there. That's what we have. Okay, so now I'm going to create the constructor for it. Okay, so it could be a no arg. Okay, which will house our number of handlers in here. But before we move forward with radial buttons, you need to actually group these together. Okay, so right now they're not in any group; they're on its own. And if you preview it, okay, so let's preview this thing. Right, we do a preview. Okay. So we can actually select all of them, and that's not what we want. Okay, so we don't want that. All right. I think I have an extra boxer that I need to get rid of. This is the one. I accidentally dragged it on. Okay. All right. So now let's go back. So one thing for radio buttons, you had to create a button group for it, and a button group is actually not a GUI component in Java. Okay. It's actually just it allows you to group buttons together. So swing under the swing API. Okay, so let's go here and create the fields for it. Okay, so there we have our field. Okay, now what we want to do is actually add this. So this you have to do this manually. Okay, so radio group dot add. Okay, so we're going to add each button on here. So plain font button. Right. Radio add, and it'll be bold. Okay. Again, we're going to add radio button. We're going to add the italic one. Oops, sorry, this is not that one. Italic. Oh. Okay. This is my mistake because this should not be capitalized. It would actually be incorrect. And according to Java convention, you should not have variable names that start with capital letter. Okay, so there. That's better. That's what we have so far. Okay, so now we grouped it together. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'll go back in here, and first what I want to do is actually add a listener to this. Okay, so I'm going to create listener. So right click, and it's an item listener, not an action listener, but an item listener, and it's got one method in there, item state changed. Okay, and in this item state change, what I want to do is actually output to the text field. Okay, so what I'm going to do is set text and string. Okay, so there, and I'm just going to output, say, plain font. Okay, so let's just keep it that plain font, nice and simple. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually set the font. Okay, so I'm going to set the font to that type. New font, and let's just make an easy one. How about serif? Okay, could have done Courier. So font dot plain. Okay, so these are just options, right? And then 12-inch, okay, or sorry, 12 point, not 12-inch. Okay, so that's for the plain font radio button. Okay, now I'm going to create a listener for this. Okay, so for the bold. Okay. So instead of typing it all again, I'm just going to copy this and then just change the font. Okay. So bold. That point, can't type. So this will be bold font. Okay, so this will be self-explanatory, bold. Right, and then we go back here and do it for the italic. So create listener, item listener. Okay, okay. Right. And we do the same thing here. And this will be italic. And then, of course, this is just italic. So we won't change here. Italic. Yeah, there we go. All right, so now before we can actually run this, remember, if you recall from our previous tutorial, you got to create the domain for it. Okay, so there you go. It's nice and easy. It's auto-generate. And now let me try running this. Okay, so let me try running this. So the only functionality we have so far would be for the radio buttons. Okay, so there we go. Now let's try that. Plain font, bold font, and italic font. Okay, so let's drag that in the middle. Okay, so now because we added to a button group, it knows which selection we want. Okay, so these do nothing right now. Okay, and I'll add some functionality to the back end, to the checkbox. Okay, all right, so let's go back. All right, so let's do the same thing for the checkbox. Okay, so for the checkbox, now let me see, make sure everything's right here. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to add. Okay, so again, for a checkbox, it's also an item listener as well. Okay, so for a checkbox, right? Okay, so say OK. Right. So that's what we have. Oh, it's strange. This is not inside the handler. I actually want it to be inside the handler. Make sure. Okay, so let's redo that. Oh, I actually have that here, checkbox. Okay, let me just redo this. Okay, so here, make sure I'm not touching anything by mistake. Okay, so okay. All right, so there it is. So yeah, we're inside the constructor there. Okay, so now we have the state change, right? And I'm pretty much going to do the same thing as I did with the radio button. Okay, so I'm going to set text. Okay, and I'm just going to say bold and checkbox selected. Okay, and then of course I need to set the font. So set the font. And that'll be pretty much the same thing. So new font. I should have just copied it from above. And this will be font dot bold. Okay. And 12 points. Okay. So there. So that's what we have. And then with the italic checkbox, we can do the same thing. So item listener. Okay. And instead of typing it out here, I'm going to just copy it and make some changes. This is for italic. There it is, this one we want, and then italic checkbox selected. Okay. Alright, now let's try running it again. Okay, so this was there before. Now we do this. See, so we get the change, and so the old ones gets overwritten. Okay. All right, there you go. Okay. All right, so good. So far so good. Now let's finish the last piece here, the combo box. Okay. So with the combo box, there's something that's a little different. So I have this show expert properties checked, okay, and there's something called model here, okay, right here. Okay, the model is where you want to have your all your info for the box. So since it's color, I'm going to say red, blue, green. So let's just say we have 3 there. We can always add more. Okay, so by default, I mean, it shows that as red first. Okay. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the listener. Okay, so again, this is also for a combo box. It's also an item listener as well. So we may as well do this. Okay, so we added that. Now, before we actually go on, we need to actually create a list for it to display. Okay, so I'm going to go back up here. All right. So private, say private final. Okay. And let's say static. And I'll say let's say private static final. That's a little better. And this will be string. Okay, so we're going to hold that. And we'll call it colors. Okay. Now just be this. Okay, so it'll be just what we included in our model earlier. Okay, so there. So it's red. I say blue, and green. Okay, so that's what we have. So those are, as I recall, those are the only 3 colors I included in that combo box there. All right, so now I'm going to do the same thing as above. Let's say set text. So this should demonstrate that we selected some, and then say colors. Okay, so we're going to be selecting, we're going to be displaying from our string. So that's the reason why I created the array of string just earlier. And in the combo box, okay, so I call it color combo box. All right, so I'm going to get the item selected. So this is the Java API that I'm using. Okay, so get selected index. Okay, just self-explanatory, and it'll just display that. So let's try that now. Okay, so that's what we have, and that by default displays red and blue. Right? So we go back red and green. Okay, so that's what we have. All right. So here, pretty much in this first part. Okay, so I'll be continuing with this example. I pretty much dealt with the item listener. Okay, so I'll be adding more components on, and the next one will be a JList, and I'll show how to use a JList, okay, and create the handlers for it. Alright, so I hope to see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.